So I don't think anybody should expect to see the stuff coming out about JFK and because, well, it would implicate the Kennedys. Because it would implicate the Irish Mafia. It would implicate the Sicilian Mafia. It would implicate even, I would bet, church mafia organizations. Okay, so I'm saying this for this reason. So first of all, this is from the CIA's website, okay? Directly from their website. They really worked hand in hand many times with the mafias, the mafiosos. Not just to try to kill Castro, but in many other things. And Joe Kennedy, even though the Kennedys and all these supposed, reputable people have disputed that Joe Kennedy was tied to the mafia. No, he was. It's not like you just get to be a bootlegger back in the Prohibition time and not have to go through the mafia. Plus, it's known that they helped with Kennedy getting elected. So I've said for a while, I think it's the mafia that is responsible for JFK's death, but I think it's also because JFK's family was part of the Irish Mafia. I do. What would the mafia truly want to do? Because the mafia, what's really telling to me about this when you read, and I'm going to show you another one, and then give you some more information on how this is true, is that what they refer to all the time is the underworld. And I thought that's just striking to me, that in the CIA documents, they talk about it, dealing with, even in newspaper reports. So this was a newspaper back in, 75 there? I'm not going to read all this, but there where it says, where it's highlighted, it says it's an abomination dealing with the underworld. This is from CIA, again, their website, okay? Mafia and CIA linked in JFK murder. Yeah, it was Mafia that did it. I mean, you could say CIA, they were all working together all the time almost. So, again, and then you look back at Donald Trump's history, and Donald Trump took down he helped take down the 5 families in New York. He did. So this big applause that RFK got by all of those mafiosos there that are Republicans and Democrats, okay? I mean, that's how I look at them, because they all gave him this standing ovation. And I'm just like, well, this is really ridiculously over the top. And then the Kennedys, the Kennedy family that's saying they hate RFK Jr. No, they're all doing this to save their own asses. Look at how many Kennedys have died over the years. It's the curse of the Kennedys. Because when you're part of the mafioso, whether Irish, Sicilian, or Cuban, I don't care what part of the world, you're considered a son of perdition. You're doomed. You're doomed to destruction. What a game that's being played. This bullshit in the Senate. Oh, RFK Jr., okay, whatever. I just have never trusted him. I don't. He came running out the gates the minute that Trump was running. That's when all these sons of perdition came to the surface. And then you saw all the sons of perdition today during Kennedy's hearing, putting him on a pedestal, putting the mafioso Irish family there right on a pedestal. Because they're all tied to it. Joe Kennedy Sr. had rumored connections to the mob, particularly during Prohibition, but credible sources suggest he was not a bootlegger. No. Yeah, that's what our media tells us. But there's more to this. People like to say that these surrounding men, while JFK was in office, they considered them the Irish Mafia. No, the Kennedys were tied to the Irish Mafia, okay? So listen to this. They were through Whitey Bulger. The Whitey Bulger, Kennedy, and the Mafia. Driving down the motorway from Newry in Northern Ireland back to Dublin, the radio grabbed my attention with a riveting story about the Kennedys and the Irish-American mobster Whitey Bulger, who was seized this month after a career of half a century and 2 decades on the run. Interviewed two straight-talking American journalists who shed new light on Bulger's career. Not only is Bulger thought to have committed 19 or so murders, he committed several with the assistance of FBI officers, several of whom are behind bars for their efforts. The protection went further, all the way up to former Attorney General Robert Kennedy and J. Edgar Hoover, who established a special division of the FBI precisely for the purpose of bringing down the Italian mafia. That's who the Kennedys wanted. That's the mafia the Kennedys wanted to bring, RFK Sr. wanted to bring down, which is RFK Jr.'s dad that was also murdered. They wanted to bring down not the mafia, they want the Italian mafia. Thus, Bulger was an agent of the government, not just as an informer, but as a tool of policy to replace the Italian mafia with Irish mobsters, whom the authorities presumably considered more pliable. The majority of Americans see no need, so true here, no need to dwell on JFK Kennedy's father's beyond his reputation for womanizing and dominating his family. According to this authorized biographer, Father Joe may have sold a bit of liquor during Prohibition, but he was not a mobster. It is easy enough to pass off the family liquor business. Joe Kennedy's father was in turn a saloon owner and politician, as a canny business wheeze, except that any supplier of illegal alcohol to clubs during Prohibition would not have survived a week without the protection of corrupt police and politicians. Thus, Joseph Kennedy's business was mafia. There is also testimony from other mafiosos of this. However, JFK is a secular saint in America, and this is something that the majority of Americans simply don't wish to hear. I absolutely agree. Returning to Whitey Bulger, considered that the grandsons of one of the leading underground businessmen of the Prohibition era had set up a branch of the FBI specifically to liaise with Irish gangsters to bring down the Italian mob. It begins to sound like a conflict of interest, but even if it's not, it might be a point of interest. Silence about the mafia. Not to the American press. I Googled Kennedy and Whitey Bulger and got only a few hits that mentioned Bulger's protection by the FBI, though this paper thought Bulger was running the Boston FBI. The American press is concerned about Whitey's lifestyle. The New York Times is concerned only by Whitey's opinions as a Bostoner on New York. This is hardly surprising. If we turn to Oliver Stone's much-hailed movie, JFK, it explores one or two conspiracies about who might have killed JFK, along with the man who killed him, and then, just 3 years later, the man who killed the killer. Conspiracies about the revenge of the Cuban mafia for the botched Bay of Pigs invasion, which they financed in order to regain control of their Havana casinos, about the military-industrial complex that doubted JFK's commitment to their impending Vietnam War. Well, that's about it for Stone. But silence about the Italian mafia, and certainly not Kennedy's Irish and Italian mafia associates. When you think that the Kennedys had taken on the Irish mafia, their home turf, well, would that not feature among your top theories? How could Ollie Stone have missed that one? The mob is always Italian. It recalls the performance of the American media when the candidates Barack Obama came out of Chicago's political machine, the legacy of Mayor Daley, the most famously corrupt political operation since Tammy Hall, and not a single American television broadcaster ever mentioned his political heritage. Not one. So it goes on and on. I'm running out of time. But yeah, this is the reason everybody loves that Kennedy. Yeah, because they're tied. So think about all those media people. They protect the mob. They protect the underworld. And that's what stands out to me the most. And I'll do another video showing, reading directly from what the CIA document said. Again, these aren't new documents. They came out in the early 2000s. But they're going to protect the mob because the CIA's with them.